Good morning. Good morning. I've got notes. To see as God sees. Can you imagine? I'm reminded of that song that Bette Midler sang. She didn't write it, but she sang it from a distance. That the view that God has is from a distance. That people look like they're friends even though they're at war. That people are marching to a common song, singing songs of peace and songs of love and songs of joy. That when we can get to that perspective, we see things very differently than we do when we're up close. But I would take it even a step farther and say, no, we don't have to distance ourselves from life. We can see as God sees, right up close. And this is not a new thought. I have a poem here that was written by Meister Eckhart in the 14th century. He was a Catholic mystic. He was also tried for heresy for such thoughts. And he said, "It is your destiny to see as God sees, to know as God knows, to feel as God feels." How is this possible? How? Because divine love cannot defy its very self. Divine love will be eternally true to its own being. And its being is giving all it can at the perfect moment. And the greatest gift God can give is his own experience. Every object, every creature, every man, woman, and child has a soul, and it is the destiny of all to see as God sees, to know as God knows, to feel as God feels, to be as God is. It is our destiny to do that. That there is something within us that when we take the proverbial bushel basket off of ourselves, we see clearly. And what can we see other than God seeing God as God? And even way before that, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, "He whose self is established in oneness, whose vision is everywhere, sees the self in all beings, and all beings in the self." What we're seeing is ourself in everyone else. And so sometimes, because I'm very psychologically bent, I wonder what... I wonder when we don't see as God sees, when we see with anger and criticism and rejection, isn't that just projecting the way we're looking at ourselves onto other people? Because we cannot see anything in someone else that we don't first see within ourselves. We cannot experience someone else unless we have that in our own consciousness and unless we're looking at that within ourselves. So we are open books. You know, all we have to do is open up our mouths and people know exactly what's going on with us. If we open up our mouths and we criticize, it simply means that we are very self-critical. If we open up our mouths and we are angry, it simply means that we are angry with ourselves. If we open up our mouths and we're afraid, we see something outside to be afraid of, it only means that we do not trust ourselves, that we're not safe within our own skin. So once we see that, then we can begin to look around at our world. And it really doesn't matter where you start. You can see the divine within yourself and then see that in everyone around you. Or you can practice seeing the divine in everyone around you, and it will change the way you see yourself, since it's all one. Because some people say, well, I'll be nicer to the rest of the world when I'm nicer to myself. No, you don't have to wait. You can go ahead and be nicer to the rest of the world right now, and you'll catch up. There is that within us which is perfect, whole, and complete. And when we can get in touch with that, we can begin to change the way we respond to circumstances in our life. We can see that there's a natural order of things. Meister Eckhart said that divine love gives at the perfect moment. So if we're looking at something and we're saying, hey, this is supposed to be in my life and it's not there, then it's not the perfect moment. It's not that we're flawed or that we don't have the right consciousness or we haven't done enough affirmations or meditated long enough to create that. It's that there's a divine orderliness in life. There's a divine timing in life. And when we can begin to look at things and say everything is unfolding for a greater good, we begin to see as God sees. Now, what do you think? You think that whatever God is, and granted God is not a guy, it's not an old man, it's not an anthropomorphic deity sitting up on a cloud with lightning bolts and blessings and a bad attitude. That's not it. But if there is some kind of an energy of creation, if there is some kind of a love, some kind of a givingness, some kind of a growth and expansion going on, then how can it see anything other than itself? How can love see anything other than love? And so if we are not seeing the love, it is up to us to look a little deeper. If the ever expansion in levels of prosperity and abundance that I can't even grasp with my mind, I mean, I look at those telescope pictures of nebula and stars and all of these incredible distances in space that are so full of life and things that we don't even know are out there. And if I'm not seeing prosperity and abundance and more than enough in my world, then I need to look a little deeper. If I'm not seeing that I am divinely guided every step of the way, and all I'm seeing is that the light turned red and the person in front of me actually stopped, how dare they? Don't they know that I'm in a hurry? Then what I need to do is I need to see it as God sees it and sees that there's a natural order to my life and that I am always in my perfect and right place. And everything is always unfolding for my good, and to look a little deeper. Whenever I'm blessed, because I'm calling everything a blessing right now, whenever I'm blessed and John is home, and I do like it when John is home, and the TV is on, and the news is on, because he's one of these people that likes to have the news on, and I see pictures that would bring up a response of, we shouldn't be doing that, I need to look a little deeper and see that even our aggressive, violent acts are a logical step in the evolution of the consciousness of humankind. That everything that has happened up until now has been the perfect and right thing to have happen, so that we can stand at this pinnacle and choose to have peace on earth, choose to have a world that works for everyone, choose to look a little deeper. And whenever I catch a glimpse of something and I get all filled with righteous indignation, that's when I've convinced myself that I have a right to be judgmental. I have to look inside of myself and say, what's going on within me? Because I wouldn't project it onto someone else unless it was going on inside of me. That I need to be gentler with myself. I need to be kinder to myself. I need to be safer inside of myself so that I can see that in the world at large. And I know this is asking a lot, because it's so easy to fall into the trap that says things are going wrong. But they're not going wrong. Everything is going right. I love what Wallace Wattles says. He says the world is perfect, though not complete. That the world is perfect. We're just not done yet. We're all half-baked cakes. Humanity is a half-baked cake. But the finished product is already assured. It's like Chuck's cakes in the kitchen. They're beautiful. The finished product is already assured because we have all the right ingredients. It's all been mixed together exactly as it needs to. And the experience of life for us individually and collectively is going to bring out into form exactly what is within us. So what is within us? How do we see ourselves as God sees us? And how can God see us as anything other than wonderful? Jesus said, "Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect." Now just don't freak out on me. The root of the word perfect is from Greek. It is holokaleria. It's perfect. It doesn't mean some idealized image that everything looks the way you thought it was going to look. It doesn't mean that everything showed up the way you thought it was going to show up. It means complete. It means whole. That's why we have perfect, whole, and complete. They're all synonyms. So be whole, even as, and if you want to say Father, what does that mean? It's not a guy, so we have this energy of creation. We have that essence of love moving through us. Be you whole and complete, even as that energy that moves through you, bringing life through you, is whole and complete. See yourself as God sees you. See yourself as God. And then there's that idea of in heaven. What is heaven? If heaven isn't a place that you go after you die, sorry. If heaven isn't a place that you go after you die, and if you go back to what Jesus said, that if they tell you that heaven is in the sky, then lo, the birds of the air will get there before you. Or if they tell you that heaven is in the sea, then lo, the fish will get there before you. Heaven is not in the sky, it is not in the sea, heaven is within you. So be perfect, whole, and complete as that spiritual divine energy that brings forth into form as you is perfect, whole, and complete. And it's not going to happen later. It's not going to happen outside of you. It can only happen within you. So how do you see as God sees? You start looking for that God quality. You find the love. You look for the love no matter what's going on. You look for the joy. You look for the peace in the midst of seeming chaos. In the midst of presidential debates, you look for the peace. You rise up in your viewpoint. You don't try to get away from it. You rise up in your viewpoint of how you look at the world. There's this concept in science of mind that says perfect God, perfect man, perfect being. That there is a perfect deity concept, not even a noun. It can't be a noun. It's this force of life. It's this livingness of spirit. It's energy. It's absolute first cause. It's self-existent. It's wonderful. And that we are created out of that, and so our lives must manifest that perfection or that wholeness, that completion. And so it's our job, I believe, as those light bearers on the spiritual path, to find and see that perfection, that wholeness, that completion, no matter what the circumstance. So if you pick up your checkbook and it's anything less than perfect, whole, and complete, it's your job to see it that way. It's God's checkbook. If you look in the mirror at your body and you have any reaction other than, I am God's gift to my life, then it's our job to see that within us. And to begin to look around and say, what really is being on the spiritual path all about? We're the Center for Spiritual Living. What is living spiritually? Living spiritually must be seeing with the eyes of God, feeling with the heart of God, hearing only God in form, being whatever God is. If we do that, then what we find is that everything that we see, every experience that we have, we elevate it. We rise up. And when you rise up, you change things. You change things all around you. And this is very practical. I was at one of my training grounds yesterday, which is called Sam's. And I was in the return line Saturday at noon. This must have been a divine appointment. And what I found is that there was a woman behind me who was just really angry. And I thought, I'm Barbara Waterhouse. I see with the eyes of God. I know she's only angry because she thinks that she's embarrassed herself. She forgot to renew her membership card, or something happened that it got lost and now they won't let her check out, and she's looking for someone else to blame because chances are she's so afraid of being blamed that she will do anything to make someone else wrong because she doesn't feel safe in life. So I know all of this. All I have to do is breathe safety out. And I did. I just breathed safety out, and she calmed down, and I said, you know, if you're paying cash, I'll take my card. I'll go walk through the line with you, and they can swipe my card, and you can pay cash, and you can work all of this out later, because I know for me that when I'm trying to figure something out, like when I wrote a check for something 3 months ago, under pressure, it doesn't really work. And so I watched that just calm down, and they came over, and they said, oh, come on, we'll just renew your membership card for free, and all is well. And I went, wow, look at me. Half an hour later, as I'm still standing in the line, what I thought was, okay, I'm done practicing. Because everyone around me literally had gotten taken care of, and they were all in great space, but I was still standing there waiting to bring back my 2 little returns. And what I thought was, what else have I got to do that could possibly be more important than breathing peace and breathing safety? For that matter, I was probably so off in the ethers with breathing peace and safety that people couldn't even see me. So of course they didn't ask if they could help me. They just went to another line. They wanted to keep me there because I was making everything calm. How would God see a return line at Sam's? Other than love and joy and prosperity. People were walking out with these big push carts piled high. Prosperity and abundance and more than enough, and I was enjoying all of that. I was looking with the eyes of God. I was feeling someone else's insecurity, and rather than get all judgmental about it, I was breathing safety and breathing peace and watching them just let it all go. We are in our lives for a reason. Every moment, every experience that is happening to us is happening for a reason. Anybody who shows up in our life is there by divine appointment. They are a perfect outpicturing of something that we have or something that we need to do inside of ourselves. So do it. Be more understanding with people. Be more compassionate with people. Feel their hearts and give them a little opportunity to let it go. Sometimes we are so into making people wrong just because we're afraid to be wrong. Because maybe sometime a long time ago we were wrong and we really got hurt by it. But we're not that person anymore. We're God in form. And so how can we, knowing who we are, do anything less than know who they are? And if we know who we are and we know who they are, how can we not give that energy out? To see as God sees. To feel as God feels. To know as God knows, and to be as God is. That's our job. We showed up here. We did not show up in some kind of a church or a center that tells us that there's nothing that we can do, that God is testing us, that there is a plan for our lives that we have no say in. We didn't do that. We showed up in a center that says, I see God in your eyes. I know who you are because I know who I am. And the only thing I want to do in my life is live in a world where we are all God, living with God as God. The only thing that I want to do is to see God in you by seeing God in me. The only thing I want to do is to love, that beautiful song last week, living in the heart of God. The only thing I want to do is to love with God love in every moment. To know with God thought, every thought that I think, and to be as God is. And I know that Meister Eckhart got in a lot of trouble for planting such words in the consciousness of humanity. But what choice is there? Once you've seen the light, you can't close your eyes and pretend it's dark. You've already seen the light. You've already opened up your eyes and seen as God sees. And you can never be the same after that. And so it is.